on the Gain Capital /OEC daily account statements. We've had some questions on these statements lately, so we figured we'd post a quick video to help with some of the common questions that we are getting. So what we're looking at here, this is a daily statement that is sent out from Gain Capital each and every night. What you're going to see here, if there are any open positions in the account, which is not always the case, it's going to itemize those first. So we have the open positions right here in the section, and this is going to show the details of those positions underneath. So we're going to take a quick moment to make sure that everyone's on the same page as far as the columns and what everything means in this open positions section. So the first thing we're going to have here is the date. So the date over here on the left is going to be indicative of when the position was established. Okay, I wouldn't worry too much about the trade number or the market columns. Those are really insignificant. The market's always going to be CME for purposes of the algo trade system. But these next columns, long or short, will give you the directional bias of the trade that is open in this section. So for purposes of this particular statement, it shows that we are short 2 contracts. And then next we're going to have the contract description, which, again, for the algo trade system is always going to be the same. It's always going to be the E-mini S&P 500. The contract month will vary throughout the year, but the market itself will not. So this particular statement is showing that we are currently short 2 contracts of the December E-mini S&P 500. Okay. Next column, price. All right. This is going to show where the open position is either long or short from. So in this case, as we established, we're short 2, and we are short 2 from 1893. That is the entry price for this particular position. All right. So right underneath the price that the actual position was established at is going to be the prior day's settlement price. Okay. So this is going to allow you to get a quick snapshot as to, are we ahead or are we behind on the trade based on the prior day's close. You can see in this case the settlement price from the prior day was at 1925.10, okay, which means that if you're short from 1893 and the market settled at 1925, you have about a 32-point difference there from where we got in. Okay. Now, the 32-point difference, some of you may be familiar with the leverage in the E-mini S&P, some of you may not. But it's basically $50 per point in the E-mini S&P. Okay, that's the leverage involved. So a 32-point difference is going to be roughly a $1,600 move in the market itself. Okay, now, which is actually going to show you your unrealized profit or loss on the open position over here in the right column. Okay, debit/credit. Debit is labeled as a DR. Credit is going to be a CR. So in this particular case, we're short from 1893. The market closed at 1925. We have a $3,210 DR or debit. That's an unrealized loss in this particular sense. Okay. The reason it's 3210 is basically we got a 32-point difference here, which is about the 1,600 we talked about, but remember, we're short 2 contracts. So times 2, this is going to give you the snapshot on the current P&L of any open positions over here on the right. If it's a CR over here, it means that would be an unrealized profit. A DR is an unrealized loss. All right, so that's the open position section. Now, the account summary section underneath it, this is what you're going to get every day, regardless if there's an open position or not, and this is where you can get the vitals of the account's current state. All right, so first we'll talk about account cash balance. Okay, the account cash balance is not the current value of the account. Okay, it's important to understand that. The way that futures accounts work, when you enter a position, you post margin. Okay, there is no cash that exchanges hands when you enter this position up here to go short. The cash is going to be exchanged when the position goes flat. Okay, so essentially 63,079 was the cash balance in the account prior to this position going on. When we get out of this position, then we're going to exchange cash, and the cash will equal the account liq value. Okay, so the account cash balance, when there's an open position on, is not going to be indicative of what the account is valued currently. Okay, what you want to look for, if you're looking to get a snapshot of what the account is worth based on where the open positions are currently trading, you're going to want to look at net liquidating value. All right, this is something everyone needs to make a note of. Net liquidating value. That is the value of the account if we were to liquidate all open positions based on the prior day's closing price. This is what we would have left. So this row, about 2/3 of the way down, is where you want to be looking if you're just trying to find what's my account worth as of the beginning of the day today. This is the column you're going to want to be looking at. Okay? The initial margin right here, that is just the margin requirement needed to hold the trade. Okay? So each E-mini S&P 500 contract requires about a $5,060 margin requirement. This particular account is short 2, which means the margin requirement for 2 contracts is just going to be 2 times that 5,060, which is going to be the 10,120. Okay, so that's just the margin required to hold the open position up high. If there is no open position, this initial margin is going to be zeroed out. Okay, there is going to be no initial margin if there's no position on. Okay, so the initial margin is located here. The margin default excess, okay, this is a common question we're getting. A lot of people are looking at margin default or margin excess as the value of the account. That is not correct. Okay, the margin default excess is simply letting you know, based on the open positions that you have open, how much money do you have sitting on the sidelines that could be used to place other trades. It is not indicative of the account's value. And the default excess margin, okay, the excess margin is simply going to be the total equity in the account, which is the value of the account, the liq value, less what we already have earmarked for margin on our current positions, which is 10,120. Okay, so if you take the total equity of the account, less what we already are using for margin, it's going to equal what we have left for margin. So again, to clear something up, the margin default / excess is not the account's value. It is simply what is available in the account to place other trades if one wanted to do so. Okay, so right now our open trade equity is a 3210 to the debit, which we established up here. So that cash balance, if we were to liquidate the position right there, we would exchange $3,200 with the guy on the other side of this trade, and what will be left over would be our net liquidating value of $59,869.48. So you can see all of these numbers are going to translate to the same thing. You just need to know how to look at it. So in summary, when you're looking at these and you're trying to find the value of your account, please make a note that you're going to want to be looking at the net liquidating value. This is the figure that's going to give you the most accurate representation of what the account is worth based on the open positions in the account. This number is going to be the same as the cash balance when the account is flat. Okay, when the account's flat, the cash is the cash. But when you have an open position, the net liquidating value is what you want to look at. And again, the margin excess default is just letting us know what is not being used in the current positions from a margin standpoint. Please don't confuse it for the value of the account. Hope this helps. Any questions, you know to contact Algo Trades at any time. And that should wrap it up.